At the time of recording this, I've been building automations and software for over 5 years now. We're talking Facebook scrapers in 2020, crypto automations in 2021, and agency and e-commerce growth systems from 2022 onwards. Now, if I could go back 5 years so that I could be a better automations or operations consultant, here's exactly what I'd say. Okay, amazing. So let's get right into it. So the first point that I really want to drive home right now in this video is don't even think about automating it until you've done it manually. Now, I can't really stress this point here enough, but the gems are quite literally in the details. And you can build an amazing automation, an amazing workflow. It can be built to perfection. It can be as optimized as ever. But if you haven't quite figured out those details, you're just not going to get the output you're looking for. And to be honest, the only thing I can really do here is just give you an example of a client that I was working with to really drive the point home, right? So I was working with a really, really good client of mine, and they were, you could say, a growth agency, right? And they worked with PE firms. Sounds simple enough, but not any PE firm. They only wanted to work with PE firms that invested in 500K to 100 million EBITDA. I forgot how you spell EBITDA, I believe, companies. So he only wanted to work with PE firms that were invested in these kind of companies, i.e. low to mid market cap companies. Now, this seems simple enough. It seemed like a pretty cool project to do. And so I went and got him a list, right? He wanted me to build him a list of these kind of companies. So, I built this really cool workflow. It took a bunch of PE firms, but then went on a website to check, hey, do they fit this criteria? And then give him a list of those that do. Now, again, guys, I built this to perfection. I was really, really happy with how I built this thing. Now, I gave it to him and he was like, in fact, let me make myself bigger so I can really drive the point home. I gave it to him and he was like, yeah, like, no, this is solid, man. But I just feel like some of those companies like have kind of missed, they made it through when they shouldn't have made it through. And I said, damn, me wanting to give 100% results to my client, I said, let me actually reverse engineer and figure out how would I actually do this manually, right? And that was mistake number one. Before I ran off and built it on NAN, I should have actually sat there and said, well, how would I do this manually, right? So what I did to try and, fix my mistake was I went through a bunch of the companies and I tried to say to myself, how would I manually find out if they are invested in low mid cap companies? So I'd go on their website and I noticed that most of the information we were looking for were on certain pages of their site. It was on like slash approach or slash strategy or slash invest in us or whatever, right? And I noticed that the issue wasn't the workflow. The issue was the information that I gave the workflow. I told the AI agent, go onto their website, find out if they invest in these kind of companies, but there wasn't the detail, right? So I then changed it to say, look, go onto these pages, check their slash about us, slash strategy, slash invest page. And there should be some information which regards to the type of companies they're investing in and the cap of those organizations, right? But my issue initially was that I didn't spend that time manually to really figure out what it was that I was trying to do, which means that when it came to automating it all fell through the cracks because the details weren't there. And like the gems are really in the details. Like, what exactly do you do manually, right? You don't just go on a website. You go on a website and you check the footer section to find their Facebook link, for example, right? You go on the website and you check their hero icon to see if they have like high resolution images, right? So you need to be so concrete with the details, which means that when we then put it into an automation, the automation can do what it does best. And another thing with this client as well was that, in fact, I want to give you even another example. Whenever we typed in whenever we typed in company name, EBITDA, we noticed that the EBITDA would literally come up right here in the snippet. So then I could tell the AI agent, well, what I would do is I'd do a Google search with site company with EBITDA, and usually there would be some kind of information on the website which will tell me what EBITDA companies they invest in, right? But now, unless I actually took that step back to do it manually, I will never have got the amazing output that I got for the client in the future, right? So again, like, just skip my mistake and just always, always, always find the gems in the details, guys. Again, if you're unable to speak it or draw it, you have no trust building it. Building something is hard enough with the complexities of building. If you can't speak it and you can't even draw it like I'm doing here on Scally Draw, you're gonna have a really, really tough time when it comes to building, right? And failing to do this, like I mentioned before, it often leads to a workflow that your client might tell you is wrong, but it's not wrong. You've done a perfect job building it. You just gave it poor information, right? So this is, without a shadow of a doubt, number one. The biggest time waste that I've had is just running away without actually spending just an hour to do it manual, which would have saved me 10 in the long run. Point number 2 is breaking down business constraints, and mapping out the process and beginning to analyze where your bottlenecks are. So if you're a business and you're at this stage where, okay, I'm hearing about this AI thing, I'm an SEO agency, I'm hearing that other SEO agencies are they really doing this AI thing, and like I know it's really going to be valuable, but like I just don't really know where to start. This is the best place to start. I'll put my pen down, and that is mapping out your process and just see where are your bottlenecks. So what you want to do is you want to come in here and you want to say, okay, maybe you've got your onboarding, and then your kind of business goes a bit like that, and then maybe like this a little bit, and then maybe more, and then this, and then and then that, right? So what I'm basically trying to draw out here is, I'll wait for myself to finish. I don't want to make a mockery of myself. Amazing. So this is like your business like pipeline, we'd call it, right? And this talks about your operation constraints. And your business is only going to go as quick or flow as efficiently as your smallest point of constraint. So let's say let me explain that better. So let's say here, this is your onboarding, right? This is your onboarding, and let's say over here is like your fulfillment. And then maybe here you've got like your delivery where you actually deliver it to the client. And then back here, maybe you've got like your retention slash offboarding. For example, I'm just giving a very, very brief example here. Now, you can see here our delivery is very, very optimized, right? We've got so much bandwidth to deliver. But because our onboarding is so like minimized with the operational constraints, no matter how good our delivery is, our operations will always be the bottleneck of how efficient our business can be. So you as someone that comes into this and says, I know I need to leverage automation, I know I need to leverage AI, I just don't know how, I would quite literally map out my processes and see where the issues lie. And so in this example here, it's the onboarding. Okay, so what does that mean? Maybe that means that now we need to set some systems so we can bring on people quicker. Okay, but what does that look like? Okay, well, maybe if we transcribe discovery calls, we can like 50% onboard someone before they even sign, right? So we've taken the discovery call notes, we take the demo call notes. Now we kind of already know what we're going to build them anyway, which means that we can use that to map out some processes so that before we even onboard the client, we already know, okay, this, and this needs to happen. We can create the tasks for the relevant people, set the stage for the relevant people. And so because of that, what's then going to happen, you're going to notice once we do that, oh, no, that's not the right approach. What I'm trying to do is now our onboarding will now be like here. So now our onboarding is no longer the constraint because we've now built these systems to now increase the bandwidth. And now our constraint is the retention slash offboarding. So now what you'll do, you'll come over here and we'll say, a really big issue we're having is like after like an initial, 3-month implementation, like we struggle to upsell. Maybe you struggle to upsell or you struggle to offboard. And what that then leads to is because you offboard really poorly, you don't get those testimonials you're looking for because their last sort of interaction with you wasn't great. Or in addition to that, you do the initial 3-month implementation, but then you struggle to upsell them onto something better. And as a result of that, your retention slash offboarding is now your next level of constraint. So what would you then do? Maybe, well, during that 3-month implementation, maybe you have like check-in calls. Maybe you can transcribe those check-in calls to understand what their pains are as you're fixing one pain to now propose to them, look, hey guys, we've helped your onboarding, but I'm also noticing that there's an issue here. Should we look at tackling that also, right? So then what you're left with is now your retention slash offboarding, wrong thing, is now no longer the bottleneck. And now, as you can see here, now the bottleneck is fulfillment. So now you want to improve the fulfillment. So the fulfillment is no longer the bottleneck. And then we keep on iterating like so that we're constantly focusing on the right part of the business rather than constantly improving our delivery. But our delivery is already optimized. So our business is only going to work as well as our weakest point. So that's one thing, break down your business constraints effectively. And another thing I want to mention, which is kind of in line with this, is just to pick the processes that will add the most ROI and then rank them based on which is the easiest to complete. So it kind of goes against this, but also not really. So yes, you've realized your onboarding is really, really important to fix, and so is your retention. But if you notice that your retention issue is a lot easier to fix than your onboarding issue, I would focus here first. Why? Because if you're just getting started in this optimization thing, you want to get some kind of positive feedback from what you're doing. You don't want to be spending money or spending time, but you're not seeing the fruits. So what I would do is I would focus on the simplest thing that is going to give you immediate fruits. So what that means is once you get those fruits, you can say, hey, this thing is really, really working. Let's continue to optimize efficiently. So focus on the easy, map everything that is a pain point, rank them in what's the easiest to complete, and start banging them out that way. I think it's going to give you a really, really good opportunity to start seeing some results as soon as possible. So yeah, that's number 2, break down business constraints. So don't even think about automating it unless you've done it manually. Second, break down your business constraints to actually know why, which kind of leads into my third one, which again should have been first. They all should, all any few of these could have been first. They're all incredibly important, but this one is always keep the why first. Okay, now me being an automation operation consultant, whatever you want to call it these days, I spend a bunch of time hopping on calls with people, having discoveries and seeing what their pain points are. Now, oftentimes, I hop on a call with someone and they're obsessed with fixing the problem they're faced with currently, that they miss the why of why they're actually trying to fix that thing in the first place. Or they miss the why in terms of why they're even trying to do an X solution in the first place. So I often get these when I get inbounds, when people are coming to me saying, hey, I'm trying to fix this issue. Please help me. But like the issue is like usually I'll do a discovery call and into what they're actually trying to accomplish. And I figure out that like we can just take a whole different route to get to the same ROI. But they're so tunnel vision on what they currently think is the fix. They only want to go down it that way. And it requires you as a business owner or an operations consultant to actually take them out of that and say, hey, like, remember, this is what you want. You shouldn't care how you get there. This is what you want. And I've got an example and I'll go into it now. I forgot to write it down, but I was working with one pretty cool business. They were a marketing agency, but they had meme pages in Germany. They had meme pages and they would go to businesses that are hiring and say, or this is what they wanted to do, go to businesses that were hiring and say, hey, you guys are hiring for a social media intern on LinkedIn. I see the job has been up for, let's say, 3 weeks. It's still up. We've got a meme page with, 200K, 18 to 24-year-olds that would be great fit for the job. XYZ, you can promote your job on our platform and then we can work out a split, right? That was what he wanted to do. Now, in his mind, he already knew his solution. He wanted to use Relevance AI, build these really cool AI agents, just type some stuff in, and the AI agent would just go and do this magical thing. And hey, it sounds amazing, right? Like he wouldn't want that. But his bottleneck was it just wasn't producing the results he wanted to. He said the agent would always get confused, it would do the wrong thing, it'd get the wrong job, it would do all of this. And I kind of sat there and I said, okay, well, I did my discovery call and I was like, okay, so the ROI here is you want to get more company brand deals for your meme pages, right? You want to be able to reach out to the right companies at the right time that are hiring in the right locations to offer your meme page brand exposure services, correct? They said, yeah. So like that's the end goal. And it shouldn't really matter how we get there. Leveraging an AI agent that is clearly confused on the task at hand shouldn't be what we should be focusing on. We should build the MVP to get a definition of done that would give you the value you're looking for. So to cut a long story short, in his instance, we didn't need to be leveraging Relevance AI and using AI agents. We could just build an AI automation instead of like an AI agent to do the same job. So what did that mean? Using NAN to use APIs to pull LinkedIn jobs using Apify, for example. Once you've pulled those jobs, then use an AI to filter those jobs. Hey, like, please make sure that this job actually fits the jobs we're looking for. Once it did, then firing the hiring manager, creating a personalized template, and then creating a draft in his salesperson's email. Like that solved the problem we were looking for. But I think his issue was where he had already started the solution, he was so tunnel vision on doing it that way. Then I kind of said, well, hey, like, let's solve, let's go back to the wire and solve the issue at hand. And this is incredibly important if you're like a consultant like myself, where you will be implementing solutions for businesses. you need to sit on those calls and say, like, you need to put yourself in the shoes where you genuinely want to help them. And oftentimes what that would mean is telling them, this isn't the best way to do what you're trying to do. Let's do it this way, because it's going to be less time and it's going to get you even more of an ROI that you were looking for. Because now the solution that I built on this client, they've been able to get the better job, get the right jobs they were looking for. It's cheaper, much cheaper than Relevance AI was, and just it doesn't break, right? So not only was it simpler, but also added more ROI. So always keep the why first, and this could be first in our list. No pun intended. Number 3, do not, especially if you're technical like me, reinvent the wheel. Um, so many tools now have incredibly generous free plans, open source frameworks that you can leverage nowadays that oftentimes, most of the time, what you're trying to build, there is already some templated solution out there that you can leverage to a degree. You wanna scrape Google, instead of trying to scrape Google manually, just use a tool like Serpa.dev, where it's very, very cost effective, but it lets you do what you're trying to do without all the headache of trying to scrape Google manually, because that comes with all its own complexities, which will then allow you to put the why first, right? Do not get lost in the intricacies of what you're trying to do. And I've got another example. I was working with a B2B marketing intelligence platform. I know it sounds crazy. All they basically did was they worked with people that sold business to government, and they would basically use AI agents to basically go onto the web to find out what a government was looking at investing money into. And if a government was investing money into, let's take a city, California. If California were looking at investing into, I don't know, like fitness parks, he would then use that to basically tell his fitness client, look, California probably needs your solution. Now's the right time to get in front of them. So that a really, really, really cool implementation. But with him, he came to me and he was like, yeah, Andrew, people have been quoting me like 50 grand because they said they're going to build like an open AI deep research, like almost custom solution. And we need data pipelines and this is going to cost 50 grand. And I was like, man, like there's so many open source frameworks of deep research online. I mean, if I come here and I type in deep research, open source, like you'll see most I've clicked on so many implementations of people that have tried to do what OpenAI have done, and we can then take that and build on top of it, right? And again, especially if you're a consultant, it's in your best interest to try and help your client get to a definition of done or a minimum viable product in the easiest way possible, right? Yes, I could sit there and say, yeah, man, he's right. It's going to be custom. I'm going to charge you 20 grand. Or I could tell him, look, we can leverage this implementation. It's going to be a lot cheaper. It probably will be better because oftentimes these guys are probably better developers than you are, and we can build on top of it to tackle the same pain you're trying to tackle. Now, not only does that make your work probably better, saves him time, but also now there's more trust there because he knows that you have the best solution in mind for helping him get to his end goal. So do not reinvent the wheel, especially in 2025. And even tools that do come with a cost, because I mentioned here that Apify, a lot of these tools, they have a pretty generous free plan. Even tools that do come with a cost, you must weigh the cost to ROI ratio, so to speak. And I'll give you an example. So if you're looking to build a solution which will take you 30 hours of your time or someone else's time, which means you're going to pay them, but there's also software that can do the exact same thing for $20 a month, just buy the software. Like, just buy the software. $20 a month to do the exact same thing that you're trying to customize in-house, for example, which is going to take you 40 hours of your time. Just buy the software. Like, just on the contrary now, if you're on the call with the client or you're on the call or you're a business owner and you say, you know what, okay, that's not the issue. But then you do some more discovery and you realize that you're paying £500 a month, which a lot of people are agency owners, for a tool that you realize is actually quite simple to replicate and will take 10 hours of your time. And it's going to cost, let's say, 1,800 collectively based on the hours allocated to that tasks. Now it makes sense that you may want to build out automation so you no longer need to rely on this tool because it's £600 a month. You can build it custom, so it's more custom to you, but now also you have some internal tech, some IP that you can then use when it comes to an exit. Now that makes sense because it's £600 a month, which in 3 months' time, now you've broken even on that £1,800 investment. Whereas if something is £20 a month, but it's going to cost 4,000 investment, I don't really see the ROI. Not right now anyway. I'm sure you can find more lower hanging fruits in your business to focus on, right? So do not reinvent the wheel, especially when you do this cost benefit analysis. Now where am I? What's next? Almost done here. Another one, always get a second opinion. Leading from the point here about always keeping the why, it can be funny because I sit on a call and I told this person, no, like, let's use NAN, let's not do this, let's do it this way. But the issue is that you now, as the implementer, you can then get caught and keep in that same loop where in your mind, you're like, okay, I know how I'm going to do it. And then you keep focusing in that very, 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 very bird's eye tunnel vision way, when ultimately there may actually be an easier way to do things, right? And just because you've gone into a problem looking at it one way, it becomes really, really hard to zoom out and see the easiest solution is literally just outside your field of view. Now, sometimes speaking with someone and they take a look, a second opinion, they can say, bro, like, no, the solution's right here. Because you are so tunnel, you kind of missed that to the left, there was the much easier solution kind of waiting for you. And now, last but not least, always, always, always push for simplicity. Um, and this is a very like human nature, human psychology thing, which is why we all fall short here. So I want to go into it. So this especially goes for you if you're trying to automate your business, or if you're someone hired as a, like myself, an AI consultant or whatever. Always, 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 always push back. So what I mean by that is somebody will come on a call with me and say, yeah, and I want to automate everything, like I want to just think, and the AI should just know that it needs to go and scrape this platform, create this custom email, and then send the email, and then reply to the email automatically, and then book it into my calendar automatically. Like, it just all needs to be automated, right? Like, they come on like really, 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 really stern. And I often say to them, like, by the way, these are the same clients that right now are doing everything manually. And then they come to me saying, we need to automate everything. Like, hold on a minute. Like, let's take our time here. And I think the issue is that our monkey brain always wants that shiny thing. Like, oftentimes the extra work required does not add the value you think. So the extra work that is required to build an AI reply bot that's going to reply to every email you send, like, one, it will not be that good. And two, it will take a lot of time to build. That extra time required oftentimes does not add the value you think it does. Where you just hiring somebody who spends their time replying to the emails, you're in a far better position than trying to automate that portion of your sales process, right? But I understand it. Our monkey brains are, we want to, our human psychology, shiny object syndrome, we want to automate it all, when oftentimes automating it all does not add the ROI we're looking for. It seems like it does, but it does not. And I've been there many a time. And like the simplest automations are oftentimes the most valuable. Almost always. Almost always. Why? Because usually simplicity you oftentimes precedes clarity. If you're clear on what you want, the build will be simple. It's oftentimes as simple as that, really. No pun intended. So I want to go back and really drive these points home. Number one, if my phone's going to zoom out, don't even think about automating it until you've done it manually. Number two, break down everything into business constraints and work upwards from there. Number three, always keep the why first. Number four, don't reinvent the wheel. Number five, always get a second opinion. And the bonus one here is always push for simplicity. Always, always, always push for simplicity. No matter what someone comes and tells you, says, we need this, we need that, you always go back to their why. Like, why do you want this? And then now draw parallels and say, well, you've told me you guys want to make an extra 50K a month with your sales pipeline, right? Yeah, am I right in saying that? They'd say, yeah, no, you're very right in saying that. Yeah, we do want to add another 50K to our bottom line. Okay, and you basically want to automate your process. They'll be like, yeah, I think if we automate everything, then like, yeah, we can just scale up, and then there'll be no reason why we can't make this amount. And then we need to quite like very intentionally, but in like a soft manner, of course, because you're there to help them, just work them through why automating every part of their business is not going to get them that same ROI that they said they want. So you always need to tie everything back to that thing. Like, you mentioned this. So in my opinion, and from my background of experience, I would recommend that we automate this part, but this part here, to automate it, it's going to be a lot more money from my side. But B, I do not believe that it will add the ROI you're looking for. Now, the benefit of that is you come across as someone that genuinely cares about their business, but two, you're going to build them some cool stuff that will actually help them, right? Don't get caught up in saying yes, 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 yes. You build something, it's not great. Now, very a bit annoyed. You somewhat knew that this wasn't really going to work in the first place, and now nobody wins. So yeah, so I hope you guys found value in that. Again, I've been in this space since 2020, since COVID time, building a bunch of automations and a bunch of different parallels. And this is everything I would have told myself 5 years ago. So God bless, leverage it all, and we'll speak soon. Bye-bye.